Hi folks, how you doing? It's James, JT at the movies, back here again for another Debriefing 007 episode, and today we're going to talk about 1965's Thunderball. So, Thunderball, there's quite a lot of controversy around this film, and for those who don't know, I'll do a brief bit of a recap now, so that hopefully you're up to speed, and then we'll talk about this film. So, in the 1950s, when James Bond was just a literary character written by the great Ian Fleming, Fleming really wanted to bring James Bond to the silver screen and make him an action star, and he really saw his James Bond series as destined for the big screen. In an effort to do that, Fleming wasn't really patient at all, and he sold the rights to Casino Royale to an American TV series called Climax, and they absolutely butchered the story of Casino Royale, made James Bond this really sort of like over-the-top American sort of CIA agent sort of character, and then it reversed all the roles, and really the only good thing about that adaptation was Peter Lorre playing Le Chiffre. It's free on YouTube if you haven't seen that. But that was just one of the many attempts that Fleming had to try and get Bond adapted to the screen. He wasn't patient, didn't wait for the right opportunity to come along. And another one of those instances was when he teamed up with a chap called Kevin McClory, and another chap called Jack Whittingham. The three of them came up with a story where James Bond goes up against a new villainous organisation, which in the books hadn't been introduced as yet, Spectre. Obviously in the Eon film series they've been used since Doctor No. But in the books, Thunderball was the first time that Spectre had been used. So Fleming, McClory and Whittingham came up with Spectre and this story that two nuclear missiles would be stolen from NATO forces, and essentially the world would be held to ransom, and it would be Bond being sent off all around the globe to try and basically recover these missiles and stop Armageddon. So they turned this into a screenplay and tried to get it adapted and published and all the works with that, and didn't get anywhere fast with it. So they abandoned the idea as a group. But Fleming, rather than sort of leaving the story there or even asking his co-contributors for permission to use it, turned the basis of that screenplay into the novel Thunderball without so much as a byline in the book crediting the other two chaps. So of course the other two chaps took Fleming to court and successfully sued for the rights of the characters and the story of the book, as well as the film rights. Eon Productions initially wanted to make Thunderball as the first James Bond film, but all this legal stuff was going on at the time, so they opted to make Doctor No and leave it down the line. Of course, now 3 films in, they've decided that they want to have another go at making Thunderball. So they reach out to Kevin McClory, who's the man who won the rights in the court case, and invite him on board to make an official Eon Productions film, with the clause that he then can't use the rights that he owns to go and make a rival James Bond film for at least another 10 years. McClory agrees, and Saltzman and Broccoli take a step back and just become executive producers for this one, and the sole producing credit goes to Kevin McClory. From what I understand, it wasn't really an enjoyable experience working behind the scenes. And I think McClory had his own ways of doing things, and then obviously Broccoli and Saltzman had their ways of doing things, and it was really just an uneasy alliance to make sure that the Eon franchise came out on top. 10 years later, then of course McClory then started work on his own James Bond story with basically the plot to Thunderball and the characters within it, which he was allowed to use. Started off with a screenplay called James Bond of the Secret Service, which was written by obviously Len Deaton, who did the Harry Palmer movies. Sean Connery got involved in some of the rewrites, and obviously McClory oversaw it. And there were many legal battles between Eon and McClory throughout the years for McClory trying to use all the things that Eon, used in other films and from other Fleming sources and that sort of thing. And it went on for years until 1983. He was successfully able to make Never Say Never Again, which is basically just a remake of Thunderball with a few little tweaks here and there to change it, but the ultimate story is the same. So, if you're interested in delving into that whole legal drama that went on, there are plenty of videos here on YouTube about it. I think Calvin Dyson's done some, and I dare say a load of folk in the Bond community have talked about it as well. There's some fantastic books on the subject as well, and if you're a James Bond nut like I am, it really makes for fascinating reading. So the basic plot of Thunderball, as I just sort of mentioned in my bit of a recap, is that Spectre, led by this time their number 2 agent, Emilio Largo, hold the world pretty much to ransom with the theft of 2 nuclear devices from NATO. The way that they get the devices is they have a Spectre agent undergo plastic surgery to look like one of the NATO pilots, who actually just so happens to be the brother of Largo's mistress Domino in this film, and they kill off the brother. And then have the guy who's the body double take his place. He hijacks the plane, kills all the people on board, and then flies it off so that Spectre can retrieve the weapons. Then Blofeld sends in his demands and says basically, if we're not paid an extremely handsome amount of money, then we're going to blow up an unnamed target. So, of course, the British Secret Service and all the world's different Secret Service agents are sort of brought in to basically look at it. Bond gets given an assignment, but after looking over the case files, asks M to be reassigned to Nassau to investigate the sister. Because at the start of the film, he encounters the chap who they now believe has stolen the bombs at a health clinic where Bond's recuperating after the pre-title sequence of the film. Initially, the Home Secretary, who's heading up the mission, doesn't want Bond to go off his assigned mission, but M argues if 007 says that there's something there, that's enough for him to start basically letting him look into it. So Bond flies out to the Bahamas and immediately makes contact with Domino there. He sort of starts to wean his way into their social life and wants to obviously get to know Mr. Largo. They meet at a casino, and Largo, obviously knowing who James Bond is, given the 2 previous encounters Spectre has had with him in Dr. No and From Russia with Love, wants him killed. And it's basically the sort of the cat and mouse game of Bond and Largo sort of trying to catch each other off sort of at night, but then at day they've got this whole sort of like faux social interaction going on where Bond's taking Domino out and he's been invited round to Palmyra, the Largo residence, to come and have dinner. There's all that sort of going on. They firmly believe that the bombs are hidden somewhere in the Bahamas. Felix Leiter comes out to help Bond. They search the bay, they find the plane, and so therefore know that it's there. Bond reveals to Domino that his brother has been killed by Largo and the grand plan as to which she's now become involved. Domino obviously realises what she needs to do and helps Bond basically track down where the bombs are and what's going on. Bond learns that Largo plans to detonate the bombs in Miami. So then with the CIA and the US Navy, they descend upon Largo and his men and stop them before any damage can take place. There's a great underwater battle where, of course, Bond ends up triumphant. Domino is the one who ultimately kills Largo as revenge for her brother being killed earlier in the story. And pretty much just like all the other Connery Bonds end so far, Bond ends up sort of sailing at sea with a pretty young lady in a boat waiting to be rescued. Dr. No ends like that. From Russia with Love ends like that. Fair enough, they're not in a boat in Goldfinger, but he's waiting to be rescued with a pretty young lady. And the same in You Only Live Twice as well. So that seems to be the staple ending for the Connery Bond films. But probably quite a brief summary of the plot there, and I could go into a lot more detail. This is one that I've always loved. I really enjoy this film. I love the locations, I find the story fascinating, and I think it's great watching this film knowing all the drama and the controversy that went on behind the scenes with it. And I don't know why, but that just brings it all a bit more to life with me. I don't mind Never Say Never Again, but it doesn't really feel like a Bond film. For anyone who's seen it, you'll know what I mean. It's sort of like it's got a character called James Bond in it. But other than that, none of the tropes and the sort of the cliches, if you like, the things that make it James Bond are there to make it James Bond. So it's I much prefer Thunderball over Never Say Never Again. But I used to until probably only a couple of months ago. And when I did my rankings, you'll see that Thunderball came out very high indeed. I think it was ranked at either number 3 or 4 out of the whole franchise. And after doing this recent series of rewatches, I think that this and From Russia With Love might have swapped around. And I think From Russia With Love might now be my favourite Connery film, and that this one might have just slipped back down to maybe 10th, 11th place in the list. It's really great doing this rewatch and having to really sort of think about them critically, and where I'd rank them as this bit of a project. It's really making me think about what I really enjoy and what I take from a Bond film. But yeah, I love the locations. The villains are great. Where Largo lacks, because let's face it, he's not much of a memorable villain, is he? Really? When you see greatest Bond villain list, Largo's never topping anybody's list. But he does the job well, and I think what makes it work is that, like, you've got henchmen like Vargas, and I can't remember his name, but there's the bumbling chap that sort of tries to get into Bond's hotel room, isn't there? And he's like, throw the little fish back, that sort of thing. And those people are more memorable. And then there's the whole doppelganger bit with the brother, and Fiona Volpe is absolutely fantastic as the femme fatale for this. Absolutely fantastic. She's possibly my favourite character in this whole film, to be right honest. I really like the chap who plays Felix Leiter as well in this one. I actually think it's a real shame, and I don't know if there was a reason why he didn't get brought back, but I think it's a real shame that they didn't bring him back for Diamonds and for Live and Let Die. I think that would have really served to have a great continuity there. The guy they got in Diamonds, he wasn't up to par, really, were he? Obviously, David Hedison did it in Live and Let Die, and he's fantastic, so forgive them that. But really did like this guy. Rick Van Nutter, I think he's called. And really liked him. Obviously, M and Q, Moneypenny, and all the MI6 regulars, they're in this and fantastic in their very brief scenes. And I just really enjoy the film. It's a good popcorn bit of watching. I do understand the critique that the third act gets, and that obviously there's a lot going on underwater, and this film was one of the films to sort of try and pioneer underwater photography, and it can be a bit of a muddled mess at times if you're not following it intently. There can be scenes where you're like, right, okay, so who's, what's going on? Hang on a minute, is that Bond? Hang on, who's just been... And I do get that. That is a fair criticism of the film. But like I say, all in all, I do like this film. I really enjoy it. I think if you've not seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. If you're interested in the history of the production for it, there's the Inside 007 documentary that's included on the DVD and the Blu-rays. It might even be here on YouTube as well. I know some of the other entries are. There are so many books that talk about it. There's a whole book, Battle of Bond, I think it's called, that talks about the entire sort of controversy and the legal fallout of it. There are great books and articles about it, and like I say, several of our fantastic YouTubers here on this platform have done videos about it as well, so if it's something you wanted to delve into, you could do quite easily. For me, I'm going to give this film a 7 out of 10. So there we are, folks. That's my thoughts, my ramblings on Thunderball. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I know I've strayed away a little bit from the formula I've done for the first 3 here, but I did want to spend that bit of time talking about the sort of the controversy behind it all, and I just found it really interesting and wanted to sort of share a bit of that with you. If you've liked this video and you like videos talking about the James Bond film series, you like videos talking about collecting physical media, unboxings, DVD and Blu-ray hauls, and just enjoying film as an art form itself, please consider subscribing to the channel, because that's what I'm all about. We've got a great community of film related YouTubers here we'd love to have you involved in. If you do subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and that way you're the first person to be notified when I do post a video. And above all else, folks, please continue to take care of yourselves, continue to stay safe, and I will see you next time on this series for my review of You Only Live Twice.